The Marathon Dream, the Power of Persistence. Once upon a time, there was a man named John. He was not your typical athlete. In fact, if you saw him in his small town, you'd never guess that he had any aspirations of athletic glory. John was 55 years old, slightly overweight, and worked at a desk job. He hadn't run a mile in over 30 years, but one day, while sitting in his living room, he saw something on television that would change his life: a marathon. As John watched runners from all walks of life cross the finish line, something inside him stirred up. He remembered how, when he was younger, he loved to run. The feeling of freedom, of pushing his body, had always brought him joy. But life happened: college, work, kids. Somewhere along the way, his love for running had been buried under years of responsibilities. But the idea stuck with him. Could I do that? Could I run a marathon at my age? The thought seemed crazy at first, but it lingered. Every day, it gnawed at him a little more until finally he made a decision. He was going to run a marathon. When John told his friends and family, their reactions were less than encouraging. "A marathon? Are you serious?" they'd ask, some with concern and others with a hint of amusement. "You can barely walk up the stairs without huffing and puffing. Stick to your daily walks, John." But John didn't listen. He knew it wasn't easy, but something inside him believed he could do it. He bought a pair of running shoes and downloaded a beginner's training program. The first day was humbling. He couldn't even run for a full minute without stopping. His legs burned, his chest ached, and he felt every year of his age. The next morning, he was sore, but he laced up his shoes again and headed out the door. His pace was slow, and the doubts tried to creep in, but he kept on going. He ran for 1 minute, then 2, then 5. Every day, he pushed himself just a little further. There were setbacks along the way, days when his knees hurt too much to run, times when he felt embarrassed as younger runners passed with ease, but he didn't quit. Weeks turned into months, and gradually, John began to see progress. He could now run 3 miles without stopping, then 5. His body started to change too. He lost weight, his muscles strengthened, and his stamina grew. But the real change was in his mindset. For the first time in years, John felt alive, like he was working towards something meaningful. 6 months later, race day arrived. John stood at the starting line of the marathon, surrounded by thousands of runners, some seasoned athletes, others first-timers like himself. His heart pounded, not just for the nerves, but for the anticipation of what lay ahead. As the gun went off and the crowd surged forward, John took his first steps, slow and steady. He reminded himself that this race wasn't about speed, it was about finishing. The first few miles were exhilarating. The energy of the crowd carried him forward, but as the race went on, the real challenge began. Mile after mile, his legs grew heavier, and fatigue set in. At mile 18, John hit what runners call the wall. Every step felt like a battle, and the doubts came flooding back. Maybe they were right, he thought. Maybe I'm too old for this. Maybe I should stop. But then, John remembered why he started. He wasn't there to prove anything to anyone else. He was here to prove something to himself, that he could set a goal, push past his limits, and achieve something he once thought impossible. So he kept on going, one step at a time, 1 mile at a time. As he approached the 26th mile, the finish line came to view. Tears welled up in his eyes as he pushed himself to the end, crossing the line to cheers from the crowd. John had done it. He had completed a marathon. In that moment, it wasn't about the medal or the time on the clock. it was about the journey, about believing in himself when others didn't, and about never giving up, even when the odds were against him. And so, you see, in your own life, there will be times when people doubt you, when they tell you that you're not capable of achieving your dreams, that you're too old, that you're too young, too inexperienced, or that the road ahead is too hard. But remember John's story. It's not about how fast you get there or whether you face obstacles along the way. What matters is that you keep moving forward, no matter how small the steps. In life, the power of persistence is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. So, the next time you face a challenge or feel like giving up, remind yourself success isn't about never failing, it's about getting back up every time you do. Keep going because your finish line is waiting for you. This is Guiding Light Inspirational Stories. Thank you for watching. Be blessed.